guys, Phil Baumhart here. So for today's build video, I'll be working on a custom D guard. So very similar to my Yankee Slayers that I've done in the past, with a few subtle differences. Customer had a lot of specifications that he wanted me to do. Got it sketched out in my little notebook here, so I know what all my parameters are. First one is he wanted it to be 2.5 inches wide, so I picked up some 2.5 inch 80 CRV2. So going to be a very broad blade. It's going to have a 16-inch long blade, and the D guard itself is going to be squared off instead of kind of rounded. So this is going to be a buoy clip point. So I'm going to start by forging the preform, just basically making this to a big triangle here, and we'll go from there. But let's get this hot, see what I can make. So for the preform, I'm just hanging it over the edge of the anvil, driving this side down. I want about a 6-inch false edge, which is what this area here will be. It's about time we'll set it up like this and give that end a go. So I need a little more length out of this, probably about a 4-inch 12th edge right now. So we're going to start at the back end and kind of work our way down here. We're definitely getting close. Maybe one more heat, then we'll forge the rest of the profile. Get that buoy curve. Okay, so here's where we're at with the blade. Got it cut down from the rest of the stock, so got it measured out to 16 inches, so that's our blade length right there. And then, so this material in here should be enough for the tang. I'll probably mark this with a file so that I can see this when it's hot. I also need a 2-inch ricasso here. So I think I need to put that ricasso in first before I start doing the tang. I like to put the spine on the edge of the anvil to kind of set in the shoulders. Now we'll hammer the spine side. But if I'm going to have a deeper side, I want the deeper side to be on the spine side. Take a minute to move this 2.5-inch material, but we'll get there. Alright, now that I got the tang pretty much set up, I'm going to switch over to my left hand. See how that goes. Hello. Gonna need a little practice. Slowly but surely we're getting there. I really just need to get this tang to 5 inches. The rest I'll thin down on the grinder. So what I might end up doing right now is just focus on the very end, get that point, because I'll get a lot of length real fast doing it that way. And also I need that fine taper when doing the burn through tang. I think I'm going to try to use the horn again and get that taper squared away. I definitely think that we are over 5, maybe like 5.5, 5 3/4, so it should be in good shape. So we'll get a little more length out of the tang. definitely way thicker than it needs to be, so this will get ground flat quite a bit. I've got the length, so that's the main thing. So you can see that's kind of folded over quite a bit, which is, you know, not usually what you want. Yeah, tang length should be good. I think I'm gonna call it good on that for now. Yeah, it's about 6 inches. So I'll grind it. We'll see if I have to get a little more length out of it. Let's check our blade length here. It's a little short, so I'm gonna get back into this ricasso area, see if I can get some length out of it that way. Might be good. We'll see if we can get this straightened up a bit. Okay, so here's what the blade's looking like. I ended up going back in and refining the point here. So we've got the 16 inches of length to this step down here, which is where the guard's gonna go. I'm gonna have to bring up this step down to get to that 16. Probably extending my ricasso here for it to be 2 inches. Sharpened false edge, you know, conversely ended up being a little longer. Looks like it's about 7 inches, but I think longer is better than shorter. Proportionally, the blade still looks good. Yeah, we're over 6 inches, you know, from here to here for the tang. Handle needs to be 5 inches, so that gives me, I'm gonna grind this down quite a bit and thin this out, but this will give me enough tang to get all the way through the handle and have enough for a good peen over. So I'm gonna move on to forging the guard. We've got some 3/16 inch mild steel, 1 inch wide. So we're gonna do a curl, and it's going to be a squared off guard. I'm going to try to keep it pretty snug to the grip. It's not going to extend out too much, so we'll get this hot and forge in that curl for starters. Alright, point's pretty much good to go there. We're just gonna neaten it up a little bit. Alright, now we should be able to put that curl in there. I'm just gonna use the edge of the anvil here. I'll put some indents in where I'm going to put in the slit for the tang, and then I can bend it over. So by isolating this material, I can hopefully widen it out a little bit. Yeah, so that kind of isolates that that area nicely. It looks good. And obviously clean it up on the grinder more if I need to. I'm going to kind of round out that tang area. Make this a little more circular. Right about here is where we got to put that first thing. See, I've been working on grinding the tang. While this has been heating up. I'm going to try to use the post leg vise to put it in a nice square bend. We'll see how that goes. Probably should have had this prepped, shouldn't I have? That's where it'll sit. Check our measurement. We're pretty much spot on, maybe off by 3/8 of an inch, but honestly, I'll take that. It'll definitely work. There's a little bit of refinement, obviously, but I'm gonna drill and Dremel out the slot for the tang there. Then I'll figure out where this needs to line up. Hopefully you can see I've got a little bit of a slight taper down to where the pin's going to be. I'm just going to round this whole area out here. I think I got a lot of extra material here, so this area will be what we're targeting. Okay, I think I'm ready to just see if I can get this thing fitted up. I think we're in good shape, so I'll get this cut out and drilled, and we'll see about getting it on the tang. Still have to do some grinding on it. Alrighty, so I got the slot cut out in the guard, drilled out the bottom here, expanded it with the Dremel, so now and cleaned up the shoulders there, fit the shoulders, so now the guard fits real nice and snug on the tang. Got enough material there for the pin over, so we're in good shape there. Next step is going to be the handle. So I got a 2-inch block of walnut, drilled it out with a 3/16 inch rod because that's the thickness of the steel, so that should be a good essentially a pilot hole. And then kind of took the saw on my Leatherman here, opened it up on the sides, got a good foundation, so the tang already starts going in that hole, which is perfect. That's exactly what I need. And so we'll just get this tang hot and then just burn it in the rest of the way. The walnut's pretty soft wood, so it should burn through pretty easy. But really, the two keys to burning in a tang is having the pilot hole drilled all the way through, and then it's got to come to a pretty fine taper at the end of the tang. Might have got this a little too hot, but it doesn't take much. So now once I have, initially burnt in, I can open it up a little bit with the Leatherman just to get that burn-in process easier, because it's narrow down at the bottom, narrow at the bottom than it is at the top. So this just sort of helps it along while it's heating up. And then that Yeah, that hole will get blocked up, so I gotta make sure that that stays open, because that'll keep you from being able to get that sunk all the way. Sometimes you just gotta tap it out, give it a shot. Okay, so we should be good to go. And I'm going to mark which side is the spine and which one's the blade, because I was consistent in my orientation as I was fitting it in. So once that cools down, we can put it back in and it'll be a good fit. So now the next step is going to be fitting the block into the D-guard. See how it fits with the blade on there. Okay, it's actually not too bad. It could probably do with a little bit of trimming down. So now it's just a matter of sanding the block into something that looks like a handle. It feels like a handle, so I'm going to try to do kind of a taper from both ends, so it kind of comes to a palm swell in the center. While I have it fit up, I'm just sort of gonna trace where the guard is, so I know what's going on there. I'm going to grind this down to more of a round shape, and I'll kind of mark the outsides of the guard here, and so that should give me, be able to get like a center line based on the guard and the tang. So we'll just pop this off. Okay, so I just basically kind of knocked off the corners, rounded it up into a rough oval shape, so obviously it's still huge. I got the 10-inch wheel set up there, so I'm going to go around the tops and bottoms and see if I can give it that palm swell and thin out a lot of this material. Alright, so we're not looking too bad there, still pretty big. So I think I want to push that center line up a little bit further. I'd like to have it narrow here and a little more here. Alrighty, so here's what our handle's looking like. Pretty happy with that shape. It's got the center rib and then tapers down on both ends. It's got a pretty good feel right now. It'll probably slim down a little bit after some sanding, but right now it's feeling good. So now I'm going to grind the blade, clean up the profile. I'll lay in a primary edge bevel, and once that's good to go, we can move on to heat treatment. Alright, so here's what the blade looks like all sanded up. So now I'm going to go ahead and we'll get a maker's mark on here, and I'm going to quench it. Alrighty, so I got my ammo can of quench oil here, got it warmed up. to about 100 degrees, maybe 110 there. Between 90 and 120 is the target range for the warm oil. Blades in the forge here. Magnet check the blade. Oh yeah, that's good. And so behind me I got some angle iron in the leg vise there. So once I get it quenched, I'm going to drop it in that just to hopefully make sure that it doesn't warp on me. A little tough for the camera to see, but I think we're good on straightness. All right, blade's good and hard. So my favorite way to check for straightness is to kind of look at it with the point facing towards me. And I'll just kind of manipulate it, look at it through one eye. And that's how you can kind of see if it all lines up. And we're looking good. This is good and straight. I'll get this in the oven, temper it at 350 degrees for 2 cycles of an hour and a half. Okay, so I've got the guard all polished up here, and so now I'm going to blacken it with some linseed oil. I'm going to get it hot, and then coat it with some linseed oil, and then hopefully make a nice, clean, consistently black coating on there. Got a little bristle brush here. Yeah, that's too hot. You can see it's just boiling off. Oh boy, that's not what I wanted. Woo! This is fun. So the historic D-guard buoys, the Confederate D-guard buoys, at least from the one book I got, apparently had a blackening coating on the guards and blades, I believe, called Japanning. That was some sort of lacquer mixture. There we go. That's what I want. So I got the blade blued and getting close to being able to mount this whole thing together, but what I'm doing now is just sanding the handle. Before I do that, I might even go ahead and stain it before I glue it up. But I found it kind of helpful to mount it on the tang like this. This is just held on by friction at the moment, but sometimes it's a little easier than holding it in my hand, but I'll do that too. Okay, so the handle's sanded, guard's good to go, ready to get this glued up. So I'm gonna epoxy the wood on there, and then once that's dried, I'll come back and do the peen. I've got the tang cleaned up here, so this is always a very messy operation, but and I got my G-Flex epoxy already mixed up, so it's a matter of getting it into the handle and getting everything seated properly. And then I'll have to come back with some acetone and clean the handle off. So got the handle sanded to 320 grit, so hopefully I won't need to do too much cleanup on it or sand it once it's on the handle. It's a little more difficult, not impossible. I've got the blade and spine side marked, so I know the proper orientation. So we got it oozing out, which is a good sign that I have enough epoxy. Also means I got a lot of cleanup to do. And so as this sets up, I'll just monitor it, make sure it's cleaned up, make sure it doesn't go running out all in either one direction or the other. So I'll kind of leave it for a few minutes, 10 minutes or so, 5 minutes, and then I'll flip it just to make sure that it doesn't all just kind of flow out one side or the other. But we should be in good shape. Alrighty, so here we are the next night. Guard's all glued up, so we'll see if we can get this cut down and peened over. I'm going to start with a cross peen here. So it's the epoxy. This is just sort of an insurance policy of extra strength. I just need that to overhang the slot in the guard itself. So go back to the cross peen. And then angles that I'm hammering at seem to help. And patience is key. With the ball peen, with the round end of the ball peen, and so that I can rub my finger over it and I don't feel like it's getting caught or it's gonna cut me or anything like that. Just want to make sure that there's nothing here that'll tear skin. Yep, I think that's pretty much good to go. All right, did a little bit of light sanding to touch up the handle there with some 400 grit sandpaper. So I'm just going to dye it with the Fibulings Pro Dye Dark Brown. Gives the wood a nice deep reddish hue. So I let this soak in. Let this soak in and dry, and then hit it with some quadruple aught steel wool because it sort of raises the grain. So you just burnish all that back, and then you get a nice smooth, rich finish. All right, stain's all dry, so we'll hit it with the steel wool. Alrighty, so did the final sharpening on the work sharp, so let's see how it does. Oh yeah, look at that. That has got to be, it's got to be one of the best feelings in the world for me. Is when a knife just slides through that, like, oh my gosh, love it. Check out the false edge. Alrighty, well here's what the finished knife looks like. Got the sheath completed as well. So the customer wanted a historically inspired sheath, so I did the rivets similar to the Milledgeville D-guard Bowie knives that bolster up the structure, but he wanted a kind of belt loop frog stud system similar to the one I did for the D-guard with the snake guard, if you remember that one. So this one has got belt loop on the back. I've got the straps there so you can really kind of cinch it down tight, and you can see our frog stud right there. And so I put this buckle on top of this so it actually has some functionality to it as well. This is like a tactile interference that'll keep the sheath from just sliding out down the belt loop or what have you. So, and then he also asked for a memento mori carved into the sheath itself, but that font is inspired by this D-guard from the Confederate Bowie Knives, the Georgia State Arsenal book. Somebody just sort of carved, I don't know if it's their initials or a unit or something like that in there, but it's a font sort of reminiscent of that, so it feels historically correct. So yeah, really happy with the way it came out. It's got it fits in here real nicely. And there's a look at our finished blade. So, you know, hand sanding kind of came out nice. I like these little pock marks, I guess, from the forging process. Those don't bother me at all. Gives the knife some character and texture, and proves I forged it. So this was a challenging build. The 2.5 inch wide steel was you know, quite a bit more time consuming than I was expecting to forge out, but I did it, and I was happy I was able to do so. So, you know, as you saw from the paper cutting and the pumpkin slicing, this thing is super duper sharp. With that wider blade, I was able to get a really fine edge on it. I like the way that the guard came out. The baked on linseed oil finish looks nice, kind of reminiscent of the Japanning done on the Confederate D-guards themselves. Yeah, just overall happy with the shape and flow of the guard. I always wanted to try the guard with the more squared off corners, so it's cool the customer wanted the same thing, and I got a chance to try that out. Nice big old grip, comfy grip there. There's our balance point, so a little bit further out than the 2 inches the customer requested, but not too bad. Aesthetically, I think it looks good, and that's just the way it worked out. It's tough kind of forging stuff to exact measurement, so that was certainly a challenge for me on this, but the handle's right size, about 5 inches, so happy with that. Kind of like how the guard lines up with the rest of the sheath. So overall length is going to be 21 inches. Blade is about 15 and 1/16 inches long. The knife itself comes in weighing at 2 pounds 2.7 ounces, and with the sheath it's 3 pounds 0.8 ounces. Definitely a chunky beast right there. If you want your own custom knife, check out the Etsy web store at blackheartforge.com. You can send me a message there. You can also follow me on Facebook or Instagram if you want to keep up with my latest and greatest works. That's also a good place to message me, get a hold of me, and talk to me about whatever custom piece you want me to make. That's all I got for you guys today. As always, appreciate the support. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, be more Viking.